Come on. There it is. Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Off the Water. I'm your host, JP. And on today's episode, awesome episode we're going to be talking about an up-and-coming brand in the fishing industry, one that you guys are going to start seeing around a hell of a lot more. But we're going to talk to the man behind this, and we're going to talk about Midwest Smallmouth. So without any further ado, I want to welcome Josh of Achigan brand clothing, the official brand of Smallmouth. Welcome to the show.
What's up, JP? Love it, dude.
Man, thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for taking the time out. This is pretty exciting because, it's like, think about it. You could be talking to somebody who's very small, humble beginnings, and next thing you know, you're going to be, rolling it in like Patagonia.
Man, that's funny. That's sort of my goals for this company is to get it to some, level as a company like Patagonia or Sims or whatever. But
Yeah.
we got a long road ahead of us. We're doing it, sort of without a bunch of investment at this point. So, yeah, man, we're just having fun with it right now. So,
hey, man, and that's the best. That's the best way to do it. You can't do something that you can't have fun with, or that your heart's not in. And for anyone who is new to the brand or new to them, I know a lot of our listeners, from myself and fellow host Brad Hicks, we've been promoting the heck out of you guys. But I'm going to share with you what Achigan really is. So let me pull up your guys' website, share my screen here, and we're going to go to tab. All right, so this is your guys' about us. So go ahead, man. Tell us all about this brand, where it came from, how this all came about.
Yeah, man. So, just to give a little bit of background on me, I'm sort of a smallmouth fanatic. My background, I've fished ever since I've been a little kid. Really, my dad was a big bass fisherman, and I got into smallmouth fishing. It's probably about 15 years ago. Like pretty hardcore. I'd always fished for smallmouth, but just like wasn't dedicated to it, and I sort of fell in love with it. And one thing led to another, and my buddy and I started a podcast called Smalley Talk, and a lot of people know sort of that podcast. And we're in our third season now, and sort of just did that as a way to just share our love with the public of our smallmouth adventures. And my thing, I've always owned. I started a small business with my brother about 12 years ago in the medical industry, which is my day job. And what that's afforded me is a little bit of flexibility, freedom to do other entrepreneurial things. And, one of the things I always wanted to do is I wanted to start a company in the fishing industry, but I wasn't quite sure like what it was. I didn't want to start like something I wasn't passionate about. And I knew it was going to be around smallmouth. I didn't know if I was going to start, like a smallmouth based like lure company, or, really had a bunch of different ideas floating around. And really, I'm 36 and I have two kids, and it's sort of one of those things that I was like, man, I just need to pick something and just get it started and see where it goes. And so I found a couple of guys that are pictured there on our website, Dustin and Andrew, and those guys are both really talented artists. And I asked them if they wanted to go into business with me, and they're both, really dedicated smallmouth guys. And they were like, "Oh, heck yeah!" And so we started in my basement, just sitting around the table, just brainstorming different things, and we kind of came up with the term Achigan, because it's actually the term that Algonquin tribe used to describe smallmouth bass. And it translates into one which fights, which anybody that's caught a smallmouth understands what that means, because they're the hardest fighting freshwater fish, in my opinion. And yeah, man, we just really started out as an apparel brand. All of our designs are original. They're all, we say, from our heads to our hearts to our hands. So everything is all original. It's all stuff we kind of come up with ourselves. And, and then right now it's really just apparel. We got t-shirts, hoodies, sun shirts, hats, stickers or decals, whatever you want to call them. We got, a buff launching next Friday or this Friday. And then we have a whole bunch of other things to come, so apparel for right now. The other idea is to get this company into some more technical gear. So we have a lot of products that on the table right now of, sort of stuff you can actually use while you're fishing.
Okay.
So we're going to sort of attack the wet wading market, which we feel is underserved right now. And a lot of guys that fish for smallmouth, they're wading creeks and rivers and stuff. So we're going to have some, hopefully over the next 12 months, we'll drop some wet wading gear. So that's sort of the next phase of our plan. But yeah, that's sort of what we're all about. So
Yeah, dude, and like you said, from your head to your heart to your hands, this is something that you could see it in your guys' design. You could see it. I'm going to pull up your Instagram right now, but you can see it even in just the way you present yourself on social media. You know, when you're 1 second. So let our listeners know when you catch a 20, what's the call?
We go berserk when we catch 20s. I just caught a 20 this Sunday, and we did a little dance. We're yelling. We're doing all kinds of stuff on social media. But yeah, that's one of the things, for me. Here's the thing, we're authentic people, right? We're authentic fishermen. That's a video you clicked on, by the way. But
Yeah, I think it has your guys' hand in
yeah.
there.
Yeah, so we're authentic fishermen. So our thing is sort of all of our stuff is from guys who get it. We get it because that's what we're really passionate about. And I have no Instagram's funny because I have years and years of pictures of smallmouth and release videos and stuff. And I have no shortage of content for our Instagram account. I can go back into the archives and get, pictures of all kinds of fish. Because a lot of what you see, we put out, it's hey, man, this is a fish I caught 2 or 3 years ago, but it was a cool, release video or whatever. But yeah,
Sure.
I'm glad that you say that because it really means a lot. That's what we're trying to portray. We want our stuff to have that authenticity behind it. We're really just we're nuts over smallmouth and fishing, and all the stuff we do is like I said, we're just having fun right now. It is work, and it's turned into, I would say my wife is I'm gone a lot more than I used to be with the stuff. We're spending a lot of hours on it. But it's to me, it's a labor of love, stuff that I like doing.
Sure.
And so every hour we put into that, it really is something that, I enjoy doing.
So I pulled this up, and we talk about, getting it right, and the lifestyle that comes. And again, smallmouth. The way I look at it, being that I'm from Chicago, I'm from the Midwest. Okay, we don't grow largemouth like they do down south, right?
Right.
We don't. We don't. It just we don't have the weather for it, but we do have the smallmouth here,
Oh yeah.
and the smallmouth waters I have, there's rivers, and there's the big, and when Mother Nature wants to cooperate, there's a big lake. And right here, this quest for 23, it's funny because it's like, okay, yeah, it's a little bit cliche, a 23-inch smallmouth, but the 23-inch smallmouth was actually it was 24 and a quarter was what our state record was. And that was
Yep.
7.5. That was 7.5 pounds for Illinois. That was 2000. That's 2000, and that was 2019. In
Yeah. Say it
Monroe
was just a
Harbor.
couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yep. And so my point is that I know, I just know 23 is the number personally to beat, but there's bigger. And because like Lake Michigan, a lot of people are chasing after the salmon, the perch, all the other fish but the smallmouth. So it's an untouched fishery. So like
Yep.
every time I'm out and I get and that's the other thing from a kayak, you have to, Mother Nature has to be in your favor in order to get out to those decent spots on that lake. But when
Yep.
it does, you're catching big ones. And it's funny. I was out in the summer and I caught a 20 about 4. He was actually, I had him on scale. He was pushing 5. He was like 414.
That's big.
And dude, just fat. And I moved about half an hour later. I moved down to the next point that was coming off, and I was throwing a jig with a speed crawl and fishing about 25-30 foot of water off this point. And I just watched this Goliath of a freaking smallmouth just stalk it all. I mean, he came out from the depths and just follow. I mean, there's nothing I could do. It's crystal clear water. So as soon as he sees it to the boat, he's spooked. But man, I'm telling you, that was it. Like that was it. That was the 23, if not bigger. Like I said, it came out of the depths. I damn near crapped myself when I saw that thing.
Yeah, well, especially if you just got a 20, so you had a frame of reference for it, right?
I mean, this was even bigger. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, man. The 23 thing for us is just I said, I kind of skipped that part of where we started the podcast, but I started a blog. The Quest for 23 thing was like a blog. And the idea behind it is like, obviously they're bigger than 23 out there, but 23 is sort of like a unicorn smallmouth. Like, there's not a lot of people that have caught a 23-inch smallmouth. Like that's a pretty rare, especially in a river, or even a lake. It's just like a rare. It's like, it's like I would even say it's bigger. It's more like a 12 or 13-pound largemouth. It's just like one of those like, man, they're out there, but they're really hard to catch, and they're smart because they're old.
Yep.
And we sort of, that's our benchmark. And, I have a couple 21 and a halves on my resume. And I fish, I fish a lot. And, I still haven't even broke 22. So hopefully one day, we'll get that 23. I can't say that I've had any that I was like, there was one time, it was this season actually, there was one time where I was like, this thing may be a 23, and it wasn't. It was a 20, but it was the way it was on a bed, and like just the way it looked, I was like, oh dude, this is such a huge fish. And I was somewhat disappointed when I caught it. It was like the only 20 I've ever been disappointed that I caught. But yeah, other than that, man, we've all lost big ones. I've never had one on. I was like, oh man, that's the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen. But yeah, It's hopefully one of these days, man. Just I'm sure at some point I'll catch one, but it's going to take a special set of circumstances. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, it's just like it's like you could catch a bunch of small, but when you're going after that 23, it's like the elusive muskie. You just keep, it's 10,000 plus another 10,000. You got to
Yeah.
retie another. That's another 10,000. So you're gonna keep casting, but one day
Yep.
it'll happen.
I've heard of a
um,
few or a very small amount in Indiana, but I think from my perspective, you have a lot better chance to catch it in other parts of the country. And those are just tough for me to get to because we live in Indiana. There are definitely 23s in Indiana, but it's not. I can count on one hand how many that I've actually had people catch or seen people catch in the last decade. So it's a tough ask in Indiana.
and the other part too, where you're at, you're in central Indiana, right, or even close to southern, if I'm not mistaken.
So
So
I live basically just south of Indianapolis. Like I can get downtown in like 20 minutes. So
okay, so you're a solid 3 hours away from Lake Michigan.
yep, yep, yeah, 3 hours plus. Which I was in LaPorte, Indiana today, so I was pretty close. So
Yep. Yeah, and that's the other thing that goes unfounded and unreported are guys who are fishing for whatever, especially like right now, guys who are fishing for the trout run that's going on. The trout and the smallmouth live in the same water. They feed on the same. They're feeding on the same thing. Um, I heard in my neck of the woods at Montrose Harbor, there was a guy who was steelhead fishing, and he said, and he didn't have a catch board or anything, a tape measure, 22 3/4, but
yeah,
that was with the mouth open. But nonetheless, you can't discredit how big of a fish that is. Now that
no,
guy actually
that's a huge
that guy put it in the newspaper. How many people don't, especially older guys, don't have internet access or don't want to give it up, and
Yep. Or don't even
they're
measure it. you
right.
know.
Or have no idea that they landed one of the biggest smallmouth to come out of that water. They're
Yep.
there. It's
Oh
just
yeah. There's definitely, I mean, especially when you talk about the Great Lakes. I mean, you guys have some crazy, like the goby population in there. Those
yep.
things like, or the smallmouth just have flourished with that invasive species. But that's a whole Lake Michigan is definitely holds lots of 23s. I'm sure. I'm sure for
Yeah.
100%.
That area in Indiana, from East Chicago, from Hammond to Gary. That I mean, there's reports all the time. Guys, who are in bass boats, not measuring but weighing, you're getting 5 6 pounders coming out of there. So that's definitely within that 20 plus range. For those smallmouth and their footballs, and that's Indiana. That you go to Michigan, come over on our side. It's just like I said, you got to get Mother Nature to cooperate with you on this.
Yeah, the guy that
Because
caught the state record in Illinois, he caught that like off the bank in like the
yeah,
Chicago River, didn't he?
no. So he was in a harbor, and it's a concrete. It's just a concrete walkway that goes alongside the harbor. It runs north and south parallel with the lake, and all he was doing, actually, what I understand, what he was doing is he had a peanut butter and jelly
Ned rig, right?
TRD.
Yep.
Yeah, TRD tied on. So he casted it out, and all he was doing was walking it up and down and letting it kind of almost like a troll.
Yeah.
And
Foot troll.
right, foot troll, because there was and again, we had an abnormally warm fall this year. So a lot of the boats were pulled out because at that time we were getting like snow and stuff. So they were pulling boats out the harbor really fast. So there was no boats. So he could cast as far as he wanted and just walk it. And I know I fished that area. I know that area well. It's from where he was standing. It kind of drops off like a bowl, and it's one. If you cast out, like if you're trying to catch the break wall and it sinks in the middle, it's one big bowl that slopes like that, and that he probably had it in the right place at the right time, and that smallie was holding right there.
How far is it? Like when he had to land it, did he have to like winch it up? Like, is it off the water at all, or are you like down
He
level with the
no
water?
if you got on your belly, you could grab it.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Because I know some of those spots I've seen downtown. You're like, those guys have big old long nets that they use to like scoop them up with and stuff. If you're fishing like kind of up off the water.
Yeah, those are higher break walls. Where he was at, that break wall is pretty close level with the actual water. Actually, the water's been a lot higher, so even without any wake, it's almost level. Maybe a half foot down. So you're right
Yeah,
there on top of it. So yeah, no problem landing it for sure.
that's cool. Well, if I'm next time in Chicago, I'm gonna go hit that place up.
Dude,
At least go check it out.
bring bring your yak. I'll take you out. We'll
All
get some
right,
smallies while we're out there.
all right. That
So
sounds good, dude.
speaking of smallies and the brand, man, I want to just kind of go over some of the stuff you guys have on your websites. Looking at some
Yeah.
of your T-shirts. So here's a new one right here. This was one of your newer releases. This Smalley 1T, right?
Yep.
What's the design behind that guy?
So
What's the
that
idea?
was one of when we originally started the company, we sort of went through our process of doing a logo, and that was actually one of the original like logo concepts that we had narrowed it down. I think that was probably in our top like 5. And so what we did is like, hey, like the ones that didn't get cut as our main logo, we'll just use those as like future designs. So that was one of them. We actually, nobody knows this. This is somewhat of an exclusive bit of information here, but that we're coming out with a hoodie just prior to Black Friday. We're coming out with a hoodie with that same design as well. So we'll have that,
Awesome.
here in a couple weeks. So we're gonna have 2 new hoodies, and then the buff, and then we got a whole slew of new stuff coming in between Thanksgiving and Christmas as well.
Whoo, man.
So yeah, we'll have
My
a bunch of
my
new
my
stuff.
my my fingers are gonna hurt from typing in that debit card number. I think I got it automatically saved right there.
Yeah, we got so we have some like beanies that we're gonna be launching. So you'll see those. So some sort of stuff for the winter, early springtime, and then we'll have some hoodies. I have one new kind of line of stuff. They're all like similar designs, different colors and stuff that are I'm somewhat excited about. I'm not going to give away exactly what it is, but we'll have like a sort of line of stuff that I think guys that are into smallmouth will appreciate, because it's like one of those things when
Sweet.
people see you wearing it, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a smallmouth guy." Like they'll know exactly what it means.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Hell yeah.
yeah.
And just for the record, again, you're hearing it first. Another someone else has released their juice here exclusively on Off the Water. This
Yep.
is going to be your number one source for juice being squeezed, man. Everyone's letting it out here, so you guys
Yep.
keep on listening. You guys get in on it before anybody else.
Yeah, man.
So I'm gonna click on this is the shirt, the sun shirt that I'm wearing. I think this is probably the coolest design ever, especially the way the back is designed. So let me pull up the back.
Yeah, that's so we call that our Smalley Snacks shirt, and it's
Oh
if you
crap!
can
Sorry.
tell, yeah, if you can tell, that's
Oh, actually,
each
yeah. Here we go. All right, let me. There we go.
Yeah,
So
each letter is a different type of smallmouth forage. So you got a crawfish, you got a big eye shiner there,
yeah,
dragonflies, hellgrammite, um, you got a salamander, and then what's the next one? Oh, cicada.
cicada.
So yeah, and then
Yep.
what's the
Hang on.
last one? What's the end? Oh yeah, it's a frog, toad. Um,
Yep.
so yeah,
And
all
there,
those
and
are.
then that you got the fighter.
Yeah, that's right. um, Yeah, so Andrew, that was sort of his piece de resistance. He worked on that for probably, oh gosh, 3 months drawing those things, and he was super excited about it. So yeah, that's we do have those in stock right now. We will be running a nice Black Friday special on those as well. So that's also unannounced, but you know. Yeah, we'll be running a special on those and a special on a couple other items. So
And for me, I dude, if there's something I'm a sucker for, it is this right here, stickers. Oh man, I and especially like designs like this, dude. I have Yetis. I have my locker at the firehouse. I mean, just everywhere where I could stick stuff. My kayak on the back of my truck. So I am a sucker for stickers. Like this guy right here is on the face of my laptop.
yep.
Actually, I gotta ask you, are you guys going to do an inverted design on this torpedo decal?
um, we haven't really thought about it, but hey, that's a good idea.
You know
So
why? Because I need one I have that on my left side on the bow of the kayak. I need one to mirror it on the
all
other
right,
side.
all right, sounds good. We'll work
There
on that for you.
you go.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, and even like this, I love this one where the smallmouth are. It's like to me, this sticker design kind of reminds me, if you're looking at the book as when I was a kid, where the wildlings are. Like it
yep,
just your imagination just fills with it. I got this one on my my Yeti water bottle, and it's dude, it's awesome. It fills in nice because it's that nice green background, and the color contrast goes great with it. So dude, kudos to you guys and the way these products have come out. I mean, I absolutely love them. This
yeah.
guy's on
Thanks,
my
man.
truck right here, so yeah. I mean, this guy's hanging up in my locker, so I am a sucker for stickers. I mean, if there's anything
Yeah,
else, if I can walk away, dude. It's funny, like I'll go on trips to like the national parks. You know, people buy shirts and whatever.
yep.
Me and my buddies have a saying: patches, pins, and stickers. We don't need anything else but the memories that come from that trip. That's all we
Yep.
want.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. That picture at the top of that page is the back of my Forerunner, so you can tell I like stickers as well. I have them on everything.
Yeah,
So
dude,
yeah.
it's the best. So and are you guys so you guys have the Black Friday sale coming up. You guys are going to start looking. That's why I wanted to ask you guys. So when you guys, and if you don't have to go into true depth and detail, but when you guys are starting to get into the technical wear, so like the waders and stuff, what are you looking at to improve from what's out in the market right now? Like what would Sims or NRS have? Where are you guys going to change the game?
Yeah, so I would say we're gonna focus sort of what I was hinting at earlier is we're gonna focus on the wet wading market. So,
Okay.
when you look at like Sims and um there's a bunch of other companies that make, those sorts of products. A lot of them are based out of like trout fishing. They're
Yeah.
guys that are fishing cold water stuff, and which that's sort of like when you think of like wading in a river. That's what you think of, like the fly fishermen fishing for trout, right, or salmon or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Well, smallmouth they're in warmer, flows. So in the springtime I'm wearing waders, but as soon as probably the spawn ends, like I'm in pants and wet shoes, and I'm getting in the water, getting wet, and there are some products out there for that, but I feel like that market is underserved. Like there's not as many products that are specifically designed for the guy that's getting his feet wet, as opposed to the guy that's in a mountain type stream and they're in waders. So we're gonna, it kind of goes with what I was saying earlier. Like, we're authentic guys, we're authentic fishermen. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we understand what's out there, what price points things are at, who it's targeted towards. Right now, if you go buy the fly fishing market is great. I'm not a huge fly fisherman, but I do fly fish some. Fly fishing stuff is expensive, man. I mean, it is crazy expensive.
Brother, let me tell you right now, these guys, Chicago Fly Shop today, bought this hat today, but not only that, there's a bag of goodies over there. There's about
Mhm.
$200.
Yeah. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, that's
Right.
nothing to go in a fly shop and spend $200, and that's good for those guys, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of guys that, fish for smallmouth in smaller creeks and rivers, which is a lot of guys. Like, I think that's a pretty common, we always, think of like, oh, the hardcore guys out there that are, out fishing tournaments and stuff. Even kayak fishing takes a sort of like threshold of commitment, right? Like, if
Mm-hmm.
you get a fishing kayak, like you have to get a, kayak, and then you got to paddle, and then your PFD, and then you're, got your rods, and all that
Yep.
stuff adds up. Whereas a lot of people that just like to go enjoy themselves, they just need a rod, and something to carry their tackle in, and they just want to go fish. And that's the market we're sort of looking at right now, is like, all right, what's out there that, like, it doesn't quite fit into that wet waiting niche. And I can, for me, that's what I grew up when I was, 11, 12 years old. I was waiting in the local creek fishing for smallmouth. And, you know, back then I was wearing old tennis shoes and gym shorts and,
Yep.
you know, but over time I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have this and nice to have that. And there are things out there that you can use, but like I said, they were sort of designed in the um for like the trout guys. And then, you go to a fly shop, you spend $150 on a chest pack or something. You're like, yeah, this works, but it's like designed for a fly box, and it's not really like, it's not well thought out for what I'm doing. And we're sort of gonna attack that market. And then also, I think subsequently we'll also cater to some of the bank fishing guys as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that stuff that you would use for wet wedding, you would also use for bank fishing. So, that's going to take a little bit more capital to do that. It's going to take some more time. And we have some, rough kind of plans sketched out. That's where I see like the next sort of iteration of Achigan is like, hey, we can take it, out of apparel, and the apparel thing will always be a part of what we do. But I want to start, pushing towards that product set. And it may be harder than I'm thinking it's going to be, but when I set my mind to do something, I do it. So we'll do
Oh,
it one
dude,
way or the other.
absolutely. And you talk about, you know, getting into an aspect, you're going where there is a market for this. You're going somewhere, you're going where the territory hasn't been explored, right? Because there's a lot of DIY that's out there. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of guys who are making homemade things to supplement what you are embarking on right now.
Mhm.
And with you being I wouldn't say the only people out there who are doing it or the only company, but you are amongst a small group. And I think because your guys' experience as fishermen, not only from the bank, but on the water, whether it's in the jet boat, the kayak, or in a regular boat, you guys are all doing it every which way. So
Mhm.
that plays into everyday use and design, where you have guys, at brand X or brand Z, who it's someone who went to college for 4 years, never fished in her life, but just because he knows schematics and can look at something and go, oh, this might work, but doesn't know what's out there, the products out there, or how to maneuver the terrain, you guys can have the upper hand on that and definitely excel in that market.
Yeah.
Boom.
Hopefully, man. I mean, I'm a big, we can talk about sort of like the fisheries in Indiana if you want at some point, but
We'll get there.
yeah, Indiana is for smallmouth. You're kind of confined to rivers unless you do go up way up north. Um, so I spend a lot of my time like there's my favorite river in Indiana is floatable up until about June, and then after June, like you can float some of it, but like if you want to get on it, like you're waiting. It's just the fact of life, and so I spend
Yeah.
a lot of my time wet waiting. That's something I go do quite a bit. So, I understand, like you said, I understand like what the frustration points are, the pain points are for like the stuff that's out there. And, I've had everything from, like I said, gym shorts and tennis shoes all the way up to, $600 G3 waders that I have. And I kind of understand what works and what doesn't. Now, it may, when you get into engineering and stuff, things sound really good in your head, and then when you try to do them, you're like, "Oh, wow, that doesn't work like you thought it would work." Um,
Right.
but I'm my other medical business. We solve a lot of problems like that from an engineering standpoint. I fit like do like medical sort of complicated medical bracing and stuff. And I'm involved in a lot of the R&D, to try to, solve some problems with that. So I sort of have a background in that stuff, and I'm hoping that's going to translate over to doing some stuff in the fishing industry. So
Oh, for sure, man. And you know what, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you guys nothing but the absolute best. You got,
thanks, man.
you got a, you got a plan set out. You have the resources in terms of experience and knowing what you want to do with it. And just like anything else, you start off with organic following, and then it just starts growing and growing. The more growth you get, the bigger it's going to take off, and next thing you know, you're going to be you're not going to have time to fish because you're going to be running a company, man.
Yeah, I mean, at some point it'd be great. We're not right now, like we don't pay ourselves anything. Like we're putting all that money back into the company. We all three have, sort of day jobs.
Hmm.
But we do have an office now, so we're not running out of my basement anymore. And you know, it's if it gets to the point where this is taking so much time, this is my full time gig, and it's doing well. I'm okay with fishing a little less. So, but
Sure.
what we this is for us. We realize this is sort of a 5 to 10 year plan, and not like a 5 to 10 month plan.
Yeah.
So, we're taking our time, and you take advantage of opportunities as they come along, and that's sort of the only way you can do it. And I'm not a guy that's like, oh man, I want to just grow this thing, and try to flip it and sell it to some big corporation or something. I really want this to be a business that I'm a part of for a long time, and my partners are the same way. So we'll see where it goes, but yeah, man, we're excited about it for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's you hinted at it. Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about some of these smallmouth fisheries in Indiana and within, because a lot of these rivers that are in Indiana, some of them, come from Illinois, some
Yep.
come down from Michigan. So, let's talk it, man. Tell me where you got where's your favorite? You don't have to give up juice spots, but what's your favorite place to fish for
Oh,
smallies?
I have no, yeah, I'm not gonna like hide anything. I mean, anybody that knows anything about Indiana smallmouth, it's there's not a ton of places. So it's like, the good ones people sort of know about. And the one I was actually referring to earlier, Sugar Creek, which is,
Okay.
I would call that it's a river, but the upper stretches fish more like a creek, but I would say a small river, and it flows into the Wabash, so it's
Yep.
free flowing all the way from its beginnings in a cornfield, wherever the spring that starts its way upstream, all the way down to the Wabash. It's free flowing. They actually just took out the only dam that was there's an overhead dam that they just took out like 2 months ago. So it's 100% free flowing. The river in most sections, it's got a 20-inch limit smallmouth per day. So they've sort of, there's a local guide, Chad Miller, who was part of sort of instituting that 20-inch trophy limit, and
Mm-hmm.
that combined with the fact that it runs through 2 state parks, sort of protected. I would say more of a protected, and it's scenic. It's super scenic. And that river it runs, I think, free flowing about 64 miles, and that thing is just, it's a great river. So that's probably what I consider my home river, even though it's about a hour from where I live. That's what I consider my home river. And then yeah, you have White River that runs right
Yep.
through this heart of Indianapolis, which has gotten a bad rap over the years, because of, it's runs through industry. So, we have some pollution and stuff. Some places are better than others. They are working on a $2 billion. When I say it's a B with the
With
billion with a B,
capital B.
yeah, $2 billion project to clean the White River up. So they're actually digging a huge rock tunnel, and they're diverting all the runoff from the city underneath this rock tunnel. And so it's some crazy, like, it's like 15 billion gallons a day of water that is like going to be diverted, that's not flowing into the river. It's like some crazy amount. So they're over the next like 5 to 10 years, that river is going to get completely transformed, from what I've been told. Um, but that, even right now, it's an excellent fishery. Like smallmouth, it probably outfishes about any other river in Indiana, just being honest.
Yeah.
Um, from a size and quantity standpoint, it's a great river. And there's, you can fish it. Really, it's the West Fork of the White River. You can fish it all the way from um, up towards like Muncie, Indiana, all the way down, really down south of the city. And once you start getting south of the city, it starts changing a little bit. It's more of like a sandy river than a rocky river.
Okay.
Um, so the smallmouth populations decrease, and then you get more like largemouth and spots, sort of once you get down further. Um, and then, yeah, you got the Tippecanoe. We were just talking about that. That's
Yeah.
another. I would say that's probably, if you're going for like the upper end river fish, that's the place you want to go. I have seen 123 out of there before. It's a great river. There's a upper section above some reservoirs. There's a lower section below it. It all fishes
Mm-hmm.
well. It's different. That's the one that I just caught a 20-incher on Saturday. So, and then
Were you fishing above or below Schaefer?
below.
Okay.
So, yeah,
See,
we
it seems to be the bigger ones are below Schaefer and Freeman.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that a lot of that has to do with, because it's connected to the Wabash. So all those fish in the
Yeah.
Wabash can run up in there. And I'm sure they live there, but it's controlled flow, so it never gets blown out.
Yeah.
Which a lot of rivers in Indiana, that's a problem, right?
It's
Like,
a
you're
problem for
flooding.
us up here. Yep.
Yeah. So that dam really does a good job of protecting those fish from having to leave, essentially, and getting flushed out of their spots. Um, that river is interesting. Um, it's the supposedly, I think it's the either second or first uh, most biodiverse river east of the Mississippi.
Hmm.
So it has a really like rare freshwater clam that is native to that river, and they actually have a minimum flow requirement for that dam to keep those freshwater clams like healthy. And so it never drops below 500 CFS. That's like the minimum flow that they have to pump out of that dam. And it has everything from huge carp to muskie, drum. I've caught a bowfin out of there,
Yeah.
smallmouth, largemouth spots. There's everything. it's a crazy fishery. Like rarely do you fish that and not catch at least 4 or 5 different species of fish in a
We
day.
when we were there for the paddle and fin trail series, uh myself, Brian Sheeler, and who was with us? Oh, was it? I forgot who else was with us. But right around where the Indiana Beach State Park is, or
Mhm.
state park, the not the state park, Indiana Beach, the
Yep, the
amusement
amusement
park.
park. Yep.
Yeah, we oh, Mike Grimsley got into a bunch of white bass there.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
oh man, and we're marking schools then. We hooked up with a couple, but man, just the immense. I mean they're just stacked in there. It's crazy. Actually,
Yep.
I did get one further downstream from there. That was a 16. So for white bass size, that's a pretty big white bass.
Yeah, they have hybrids in the river down below, and my buddy caught one last. I think it was last year, and it was we didn't weigh it, but it was 7-8 pounds. It was big.
Oh,
The
dude,
state
that's
record,
awesome.
yeah, state record's out of there actually, out of Oakdale Dam. Um,
Okay,
yeah, so it's got a lot of. It's just a cool place to go. But yeah, Tippy's fun. It's just a little bit. It's an hour and 40 minutes or so from where I live. So
sure,
if we go up there, and the access is somewhat limited, so it's like a minimum
very,
like 9 to 10 mile float, and that's why the jet boat will take that up there a lot of times, just to sort of not be stuck on the river all day long if it's a crappy day or something like that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's a great river. You got, and then from there, there's a lot of smaller streams. You got some like more like creeks that are feeder, into like White River has a lot of good feeder creeks. And then there's the Flat Rock River is pretty good. The Blue River is pretty good. We got Whitewater River is pretty good. And those are all sort of like, scattered throughout the state. But they all have their days,
oh
they
yeah.
have their days. So you get on there and, it's like, yeah, you have a great day, or you see a bunch of big fish. And, yeah, but Indiana is I would say it's very limited. Smallmouth fishing, like if you went maybe besides Ohio, which I know Ohio has Erie, so that's different. Ohio and Illinois, they have their places, but you
Hmm.
go up to Michigan, it's like smallmouth
Oh, dude.
paradise.
Oh
Wisconsin,
yeah.
even like Tennessee,
Yep.
unbelievable smallmouth. There's so many states that have like crazy diverse like river systems and in lakes that are just great, great smallmouth. Indiana is just I would give it like a D if I was going to grade it as a smallmouth state. It's okay. It has some places, but it's definitely not like if I have a week of vacation, then I'm like, man, I just want to go and fish somewhere. Like I'm probably not spending it in Indiana. Like we're gonna go travel and go, and we sort of do that. We travel around and been in caught. I need to look at my tally of the states that I've caught smallmouth in, but it's a lot. Like I think I've caught smallmouth, I think in 13 different states. So,
Okay.
um, sort of working. I'd like to catch one in every state that they exist in, which is Florida and Alaska. I know do not have smallmouth. Other than that, I think they're about in every state. So I'm working through it.
Florida. What is what is no I you know what? So I don't know what is that? Is it a not a Guadalupe bass, a shoal bass? It's a
Yep.
combination of a smallmouth and a largemouth together that are in those river systems down there.
Yeah, the shoal bass is like native to like I think it's the Apalachicola like river, and then
Yeah.
everything that connects to that. Smallmouth is interesting, and I may be screwing this up, but we had a fish biologist on our podcast, and he was talking about the native range of smallmouth, and sort of like the furthest south that they're native to is the Tennessee River, it makes like a U-turn in Alabama, like northern
Yeah.
Alabama,
So
and
on
like
Gunnersville and
yeah,
Pickwick. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So that little U-turn is as far as the native range of smallmouth. Now, smallmouth have been transplanted everywhere. Like there's smallmouth like in Texas in the
Yeah.
desert. There's smallmouth in,
Yeah.
the
The Devil's River, they're smallmouth.
yep, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are all transplanted, like there's smallmouth in California, there's smallmouth, but smallmouth are actually their native range is the Mississippi River. So that's sort
Okay.
of like everything connected to the Mississippi is sort of like where smallmouth naturally subsisted, and then everything like even in Canada, those are all transplanted smallmouth. At some point somebody put them on a train or something, took them somewhere, but it's crazy. I think they are in every single state like now besides Alaska. I think are the only two that don't have any documented catches anyways.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, man, it's fun to travel around and do those sort of smallmouth trips because you go to some places, man, and it's just like, golly, I can't believe like almost what you were saying with the um like Michigan. It's like, man, nobody fishes for them up here. Like it's not even like a thing. So you're like you have it all to yourself. It is
Yeah.
wild. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's awesome, and and that came like a big decision for me this year, especially with traveling. Was, I'm like, do I want to spend a lot of money, like go to Lake St. Clair or go to East West Harbor, or even take another trip because I already went on a trip to Gunnersville. Take a trip down to Pickwick or Wheeler, down that,
yep,
and I'm like, you know what? I honestly let me hammer in the days that I'm able to, because again, the weather, and I'm from the Midwest, the whole saying, the windy city, all it has nothing to do with the wind. It's the politics, but we
yeah,
being on, and that's like the one thing people who aren't from the Great Lakes area, or don't understand big bodies of water. So you can have a sunny, clear day, right? But if you have a sustained wind out of whatever direction it is, you get waves,
yep,
rollers. You're talking about 1 to 2 foot waves, where it might look nice on the surface, but when you're on a vessel out there, you're trying to it makes for a hard time. Even with spot lock, you're not staying in position all the time because you're constantly getting moved around.
yep,
And as you know, it's when you're trying to fish for smallmouth, and it does become dangerous because then you have wake, because you have big. When you talk about big, we're not bass boats don't bother me. I could get zipped by a bass boat and be fine. However, when you got these giant yachts that open
yeah,
up out there, I mean, dude, the wave coming, it's like a tsunami. It just keeps like gaining strength and getting bigger. You're like, there's times where I'm fishing and I'm like in a good spot. I'm like, oh man, this is great. Crap, I gotta turn my freaking bow into this wave. Otherwise, I'm going with the wave. I mean,
that's like the
it
ocean.
gets, yeah,
Yeah,
it gets really dicey. So you have to, you know, as fun as it is, and they're there, you have to have a level of awareness. You have to have situational awareness, just like anywhere else, but even more out there because and it's my podcast. I'll say it just like I'll call it what it is. I will say about 90% of the people who are boating out there are intoxicated, and
yeah,
they're not looking out for you. And quite honestly, they could probably care less about what happens to their boat because they have whatever boat's worth a policy to cover it. So
right.
it's and being a fireman with the city and knowing the water response. I mean, from the time the boats are in the water to the time they're out, you're doing at least 5-6 water responses a day, and
Oh,
there's
dang, dude.
a lot of casualties that come out of these responses. So you gotta that's why, like, especially in the summer, I'm on that water at sunrise, and I'm off by noon. Just
Yeah.
that's the safest way to play it.
Yeah. So you're a firefighter then?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. My brother's
Yeah.
on IFD, so
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll probably wind up seeing him end of March, beginning of April for FDIC then.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's he left I bought him out of our medical business he wanted to do that. So he's kind of in that world. That's a cool gig, man. That's a
Oh
neat
yeah,
job. So,
it's we just got a new guy the other day, just fresh out the academy. Didn't know anything about firefighting. He's a first generation, kind of like how I was, and his remarks to how his first day was. He's like, "Man, this place is cool. Where our firehouse is, we're in the roughest part of the city. Very, very, very dangerous. And
yeah.
we treat our firehouse. It's like, man, this place is like a frat house. This is awesome."
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because the fire guys, from what I've understood, they want to be in those rough areas because
Oh yeah.
you get all the good calls. So
Yep.
you end up getting actual fires and
Yep.
you're getting like a lot of stuff that I don't know if I would want to go through, but overdoses and crazy. I mean, I've heard all kinds of crazy stories, so I'm sure you've experienced all the same stuff. So
Oh yeah. No, and I've been to India a few times too. I networked with guys from there. I got a few guys who left Chicago to go on Indianapolis too. So
yeah,
I still got some network contacts down there too. So
yeah, it's
you
cool,
know,
man. Well, I'll have to connect you with my brother for sure. So
yeah.
yeah,
Real quick, this wouldn't be off the water without talking about a couple things off the water. We go really fast with it.
sure.
All right. So in Indiana, when I come back down for FDIC, where should I go eat that I don't already know?
That's a good question. So there's a restaurant called Livery.
Okay.
It's a Cuban restaurant, and it's if you Cuban food is it's not very prevalent here, but this restaurant is fire, dude. You
All
should
right.
go to Livery, and then right next door there's a place called St. Joe's Brewery. It's an old Catholic church that converted to a
You know,
brewery.
you're jumping ahead of the show
All
here.
right,
Okay.
all right, all
Keep it
right.
going. Keep it going.
No, yeah, the St. Joe's. I got another brewery for you if that's another question. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, but yeah, Livery is where I'd recommend it. And if you have, I'm assuming you've been to St. Elmo's.
Yeah.
I mean, St. Elmo's, you got to go to St. Elmo's. But if you have been there, yeah, I'd go to Livery, and it's good. It's good food.
Okay.
So
Cool. So you said St. Joe Brewery. Any other breweries that you got out there that you'd recommend?
yeah, so my favorite brewery in the city is called Taxman. Um,
Okay. I've heard.
it's
Yeah.
a Yep. So
Yep.
I actually know the people who started it. They actually used to go to church with us, and they were old accountants for Cummins, like the
Yeah.
motor companies, and they started a brewery. Oh gosh, it's been 10 years ago, and everything is named after some sort of financial term. So they have like exemption, deduction, all that stuff. But
Nice.
it's a Belgian style beer, dude. It is. Woo, but it's dangerous because they're high alcoholic
Yep.
content too. So it's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Most of those Belgians are 9.9ers.
Yep, yeah. Belgian. If you like Belgian stuff, dude, it's good beer. I have a lot of it in my beer fridge. So
Nice. So if well, we this is a given if you've gone to FDIC. But what bars do you recommend around Indy?
man, I'm not a huge bar guy.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite. Gosh, my go-to is probably Chatham Tap. Um,
Okay.
it's actually like an English soccer pub. And the reason I go there, honestly, the beer's good, but they have the best wings you'll ever eat in your entire life. They're called Prince Dean Angel Wings.
Huh.
And if you like wings,
Yeah.
that's a really, really good spot. It's on Massachusetts Avenue, which there's a bunch of bars and stuff on that kind of
Yeah.
strip. So yeah, so Chatham Tap, that's what I'd recommend.
Um, what was it? If my memory serves me right, is that the Wild Beaver that's still there?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
one.
that
There's
and
there's
that
like
has the mechanical bull in it, right?
yeah,
Yep.
there's one that my brother was telling me that all the firefighters go to, but I can't remember which one it was.
It's I don't know the name, but it's directly across from Lucas Stadium.
Yeah, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, that's sort of like the firefighter bar. So I don't even know if I've ever been in it before, but yeah, Chatham Tap for the wings. So that's what
Cool.
I would suggest.
And then being Indy, you guys are a big racing town. Any monuments or other places of interest to check out while you're down there?
You know, check if you haven't been to the track, you should definitely go to the track. I mean, the speedway is really cool. You know, I've been there tons. The coolest time I've ever had there is I've ran the mini marathon. I've ran that several times, and you get to run around the track.
Oh, that's cool.
It sucks because it's like 2.5 miles, and you're like, oh man, this isn't that bad. Then you're like running it, and you can like you're running like a half marathon, so it's
Yeah.
13 miles. But that track, dude, it just seems like you're on it forever. But yeah, I mean, and then there's they have like a museum there and stuff, and then there's other like smaller raceways, but in Indy, like that's, if you haven't been to Speedway, it's iconic. You should definitely go check it out. So
Cool. And then last but not least, any kind of well, in India itself, I know there's not, but going south, any state parks or other places for other recreational activities like hiking or biking, anything like that to check out in that area?
yeah, so we have Brown County State Park is sort of known for their mountain biking. They have
Yep.
people from all over come to Brown County. I'm not a mountain biker, but I have a lot of friends who do. The one I was referring to that Sugar Creek runs through is probably my favorite state park. It's Turkey Run State Park, so it's west of the city, but it's a really unique area because it's where the basically the glacier melt carved these huge canyons. So the glaciers in Indiana stopped just south of Indianapolis. So the big glacier that came through the city, it stopped, and you can see it's crazy if you look at a topo map. Everything north of the city is flat. Everything
Mm-hmm.
south of the city has rolling hills.
Oh
And
yeah.
so the whatever the glacier name was that stopped right there, all that melt off, a bunch of it ran into Sugar Creek. So Sugar Creek is sort of like a really cool, unique area because of that glacier melt, and it has a bunch of rock, granite, and stuff that's not native to Indiana because it all came out of that glacier. Um, and it created like a microclimate. So there's actually trees, like hemlock trees, are only found natural in the Sugar Creek like area.
Oh.
Um, and that's what makes it cool. Like it's just you go to Sugar Creek and it feels like you're not in Indiana. But Turkey Run and Shade State Park are both a lot of hiking, a lot of stuff you can do, and it's the Sugar Creek runs right through the middle of both of those. So that's what I'd recommend.
That's pretty cool, man. I'm actually looking on your guys' Instagram again because I think what you're describing, and I can't see it right now. I'm going to share the screen with you, but
Yeah.
there was a picture that you guys had, and it had you guys were drinking some banquets in that picture. Was that? And it kind of looks like what you're describing.
So that's actually Flat Rock. So
Okay.
that's a little bit different of a river. There's a bunch of pictures of Sugar Creek on both mine and like Smalley Talks and my personal page, but you can see like
Okay.
on the Achigan page. So like where's one? Like you go
So
down. So there's one of Andrew's like standing in the sun shining behind him. That's Sugar Creek. Um, the one where we're standing around the campfire at Sugar Creek. The one of the underwater picture of the fish at Sugar Creek. So Um, there are such cool places like that river. It's not a huge river. Like in parts, like it's it might be that picture right there, that's in Montana, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, the
yeah,
glaciers
that's not.
weren't that big.
No, 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 no. Uh, so if you scroll up like towards the newer stuff, you'll see some of the Sugar Creek stuff. But uh, yeah, it's Sugar Creek's just, dude, it's such an awesome place. Like it's if
Kind
you
of
haven't been
looking
there,
on.
so that's all.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah, keep going. I'll show you. I'll show you. It's like up a little bit further. So that's downtown Indianapolis. So yeah, keep going. The next little page, you're gonna see some, and it's not, yeah. So that Sugar Creek right there, the one where he's looking at the fish. It's hard
Okay.
to tell. Like it's not a huge river. Like I would say in places, it's probably, I don't know, maybe. Gosh, I'm trying to think of how wide it is. Maybe 80 yards across. It's not like huge, but it's big enough to where you can't put a boat on it, but you can put like a kayak or a raft on it, and it's just a cool place, man. It holds a special place in my heart. Let's just put it that way. So
Awesome. Yeah, I got a place like that. It's it's for me, it's here in Illinois. It's just like how Sugar Creek is for you. It's not the, it kind of like how uh White River is in Indiana. It's a smaller river system. It's called the Des Plaines River, which
yep, I've
flows
heard of
in.
that.
Yep. And there's a certain spot on it that's it's it kind of gets where it's shallow. It's deep, and then it gets super super shallow. But it's like the one spot, like because I grew up fishing this river, and I where I fished, it was predominantly uh pike, and it was just and people were like, oh, it's pike, carp, that river's trash. But once I started figuring out how this river is, so yeah, is there pollution? Yes, because it has been cleaned up a lot. There's money put into it, but it's a natural silt. So there's not any springs that feed in. It's always going to have a stain to it. Once
Mm-hmm.
you start understanding that and understanding how this river flows and knowing that there's silt, muck, I mean, it's not, there's rock. Yes. Is there rock bottoms? Yeah, absolutely. But then it gets cut, those rocks get covered in moss. So there's never a clear running water. However, just like the colors on this smallie, as I look at it, some of these smallmouth are lighter with those like those camouflage stripes that just stick out so much. I mean, the most beautiful smallmouth I've caught have come from that stretch of river,
Yeah,
and
man.
it is all based upon the camouflage. Could you get an all bronze color one where it's super dark? Yeah, if they're holding in deeper pockets or if they're sitting in that muddier water, because it changes, they change their environment. But some of those colors, man, just are freaking awesome. And
Oh yeah.
just like you, that Displays holds even though you're not catching the biggest of fish there, it's an awesome place to fish that's close to home.
Yeah, man. Smallmouth, that's one of the things we love about them. Those spots that come out, and they change. I've seen them when they're doing their whole little spawning dance. They'll flash those spots.
Yep.
The male will like flash and unflash and flash and unflash, and it's cool. I've seen them do it. It almost looks like it's like a light switch they're turning on and off. So it's neat. It's a neat thing. It's what I think a lot of that's for me, like the allure of it is just like how cool they look. They're just a cool looking
Yep.
fish. I mean, that's the trout guys that go catch those tiny little brookies and stuff, and that's the allure to them, right? They're
Sure.
colorful and they're cool looking, and
Yeah.
for me, a smallmouth, man, I love a good like spotted smallmouth, there's not much better than that for me. So
I feel you on that. But you know what? I'm gonna give you a quick little pause here if you're up for it. We're gonna roll right into one sip. Everybody knows the rule. Do you have one of your beers that you'd like to try take a sip with?
I can go grab one if you want me
Yeah,
to.
go for it. Yeah.
All right. Hang on. Let me go grab one.
1 hour, 10 minutes.
All right, I got it.
All right. We're going to come back in at 110. Actually, we'll go with 111. All right, so we're going to roll in, and I'll lead us in. All right, boys and girls, it's time for one sip. Everybody knows the rules. Brought to you by Rocktown Adventures here in Northern Illinois. For all your kayaking and camping needs, check out Rocktown Adventures. So today we are going to be sipping Black Horizons because that's our local brewery that has been awesome, at least to 4-star fishing and paddle and fin. They play us all the time. They're playing the podcast in the brewery, so
That's
kudos
awesome.
to them. So Black Horizons, shout out to Derek out there for keeping us in the mix and putting us on at your guys' brewery. So this is their the Horizonte Azul. It's the Mexican style lager. It's a very easy drinking beer. It's only 4.8 with an IBU of 10. So I'm not going to give the spoiler, but I'm going to tell you what my face is every time I drink this. So let's give her a good pour. And then go ahead. What are you drinking?
So true to what I was saying, giving advice, doing a little tax man. We're doing a blood orange gold standard. So this is
dreamsicle.
Yep, it's a Belgian blonde ale with fruit. And this one's a little stiffer, but it's not. It's 6.2, so it's not terrible. I'll definitely take a sip and then some of this.
Awesome.
So we can do one chug instead of one sip.
So you could do, yeah. I mean, one chug. My chugs are, or my sips are chugs. So that's what this comes down to. So once we're done with our chug, give your review of it out of 5 stars. What would you give your beer? So,
all right, sounds good.
Cheers.
Right. Cheers, man.
Yeah, buddy. That's so refreshing.
All right,
Especially
what's your review? What's your star rating on that?
All right, so star wise, definitely give it's up there. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's very refreshing. There's a good malt behind it. Honestly, you could sit here and drink this all day. The only thing that I would say that I don't like about it, or the only thing that would kind of stop me from drinking is because of how malty it is at times, you get fuller faster, at least for me. But it's very crisp. It's very refreshing. You just got to watch how many of these you drink so you don't get too full on them.
Yeah.
So 4 out of 5. And there hasn't been a beer from this brewery that hasn't been below a 4. So
okay, I like it. So I'm gonna rate mine a little bit different. We do this on Smalley Talk, so we rate it. Like equate it to the length of a smallmouth.
Oh,
so,
nice.
I'm gonna give this one a 17. So
okay,
it's not a trophy, but it's a nice solid smallmouth. Still puts up a good fight. Yeah, this one is definitely good. This is leftover from my summer like stash that I had, and it is like more of a lighter, easier drinking one. I t- my favorite beers are the dark, um, a little thicker beer where you drink one and you're set, one or two of them,
Dude,
and you're good to go.
we're in brown and stout season right now, man.
I
My
know.
last episode, I don't know if you watched it or listened or not. It was Kentucky Bourbon Ale
Oh
from
yeah,
from Founders. So,
yep.
or the Kentucky
Founders.
Bourbon Stouts.
Yeah, the
And it was
KBS dude.
the
That's
KS.
yep.
It was
That's exactly up my alley for sure.
it was the cinnamon vanilla stout, man.
Yep.
Whoo!
Yeah, that and those are like for me, I'm not a guy that like will sit around and drink beer all day. For whatever reason I don't, but I'll have one or two when I come home sometimes and I just want them to count, you know? I don't want to
Yeah.
have to drink a six pack to get my, little buzz going. I want to drink one or two and be done with it. And that's why some of those darker beers are typically a little higher alcohol content. So
Do you? I'm pretty sure you guys do. Do you guys? It's gonna be coming up within the next couple weeks. Do you guys get the Goose Island? Their barrels. What do you call that?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've had them before.
Oh my God, I have them every year, and there's
It's
been
isn't it like a bourbon? It's
yeah,
some kind of bourbon barrel.
Kentucky bourbon. No, not Kentucky. Bourbon County. Bourbon
Yes,
County.
Bourbon County. Yep.
Yes. How can I?
Yeah. So you know where I had that last time was at a place called Basbo's. It's a pizza place.
Okay.
And they had it. Honestly, that's the last time I had that, and it was good. That was like it was like 15% or something crazy like that.
They're extremely high in
Yeah.
concentration.
Yeah, it was like, oh wow, I need to like sober up a little bit after I drink one of these.
Ask my wife about the first time we were dating, and this was the first time we went to one of the local bars that taps. They get different kegs of different, variety. So there's a different, variety style. So like they'll have like instead of the stout, they'll do like a coffee stout or a barley wine or infuse it some way or another. We first started dating, man. Oh my God, that night was
Yeah, that's
she'll tell you all about
that those will
it.
get you real fast.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So yeah,
Cool.
I love me some good beer for sure.
Absolutely. Well, man, we're winding down to it before we say goodbye. Is there anybody or anything you want to shout out to, give some kudos to, want to put them out there?
Yeah, man. I won't say there's like any necessarily people besides just the people that like yourself that promote Achigan. We really appreciate like our when we launched, really didn't know what to think and how people perceive it, and the early adopting smallmouth crowd has been unbelievable. Just the enthusiasm stuff behind it. I know one of your other host Brad Hicks. He's
Yeah.
been a great advocate for us, and anytime people repost and tag us and all that stuff, that means a lot to us. So just people listening to this, like keep doing it because that it does it's what for right now. You don't have thousands of dollars in the bank to throw in marketing. Like that's what our marketing is. It's our people who have bought from us and are enthusiastic about it. So we appreciate that. But if you want to check us out, achiganbrand.com is our website. We're on Instagram as sort of our main platform. So we're at Achigan Brand on Instagram. And then Smalley Talk, if you guys want to listen to that, we're on all the major podcast platforms. We don't do the fancy video stuff like Paddle and Fin, but because this, our faces are more faces for radio. So we keep
Oh.
ourselves out of that as much as possible. But yeah, if you're into smallmouth and stuff, follow us, and I'm sure we won't disappoint. So
Absolutely. And you guys just keep up the great work. You guys are starting from the ground up, and you guys are gaining traction. So, you know, just keep pushing forward, man, and we'll do whatever we can to keep helping you guys.
Yeah, we
Love to see you
appreciate
guys
it.
grow.
Yeah, if anybody wants to buy anything from us, I'll put a little discount code in, Bleed Bronze 15. So you can put that in the show notes. It's a one-time
Yeah,
code, but you get 15% off your purchase. So if anybody wants to use that, feel free. And yeah, we respond to all the DMs and comments and stuff. So if you ever like looking at something, you have a question or anything about how something fits or whatever, shoot us a message. We'll get back with you.
absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for giving that code out to our listeners. I'll make sure to put that in the link. And
Yeah, no problem.
yeah, man. And thank you for your time for coming on to the show.
No problem, JP. It's a pleasure, man. And yeah, I'll definitely I'll post the link to this to our page so people can listen to it for sure.
Cool, man. Well, stand by. We're gonna be closing out the show, but before we close out the show, there's a couple things I want to give. We had to give notice to. So to the to Yak Gadget, to Pelican Cases, and 153 Baits, and then just want to leave you guys with this. On this show, it's no secret about anything that goes on. I'm very open about what's going on with a lot of things. So we're coming up to the holidays, and there's a lot of things that are going on for other people. And I want you guys, everyone who's listening, just to do one thing. If you don't do anything else, be nice. Be nice to anyone who's around, even if they're having you have no idea what somebody's going through. The holidays are a tough time for people. We all get together, but there's some people who can't get together. There's people who are fighting battles we don't know. So for some people who the holidays may not be the best time of the year for them, just be nice to everybody that's out there. And with that, I leave you guys till next time on Off the Water. Peace.
Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget for all your fine quality kayak fishing accessories. Go to yakgadget.com.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode of Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com.